Hey, this is Rushdown again, and because of the recent addition or rollback to BlazBlue Central Fiction, there's been an influx of new players trying the game out, and I've noticed that a lot of players have been struggling with picking the game up. And this has me thinking about why some players find some fighting games intimidating or hard to pick up. I honestly think there's two main things that cause this: the roster and the system mechanics. In this video, I want to help you deal with both. When starting any fighting game, you notice when you turn on the game, you notice the size of the roster. Some fighting games, like them Fighting Herds, actually have an incredibly small roster. As you can see, there's only about 7 characters on the character select screen. But then, when you turn on the game like BlazBlue, there's plenty of characters to choose from, and that in itself can be intimidating. Sometimes you have to wonder if the game is intimidating because you don't understand who you want to play, or is it something else. If it's just the fact that you don't know who to play, you can always fall back on previous experience if you have experience with the genre. Plenty of games have characters that shoot fireballs or have a Shoto-like playstyle. As you can see between the different clips, they all have very similar tools, and you can fall back on that experience. I'd also like to recommend picking an archetype that you normally would not pick if any of the other options don't work, or if you're playing a 3D fighter and it doesn't work for you. Just pick something that you normally wouldn't go for. That may help you as well with picking a character in a game that you're not familiar with. But if you lack overall experience, then just pick any character you like that looks cool. I mean, regardless of the difficulty of the character, I say you should pick who you like rather than invest time into a character you may not like as much, because you may not enjoy your time with the game if you don't pick someone you like. But you have to note that the difficulty of the character will actually determine how long it takes to become competent with that character. But overall, the point of playing the game is to have fun. You can watch videos to see how the character you like plays at a higher level, but you should also note that you're not expected to learn how to do all of the things you see in those videos as you're starting. That's where you ideally should be eventually. It's not where you have to be after a while. So just take your time and pick a character that you actually enjoy playing, rather than picking something that's simple like a Shoto or any other archetype that's considered simple. If you find the game more intimidating because of the amount of characters you have to learn how to fight and you're a bit more experienced with fighting games, you can just take your time with learning all of the matchups. You don't have to know everything right when you start off. You should take your time and just learn as you go. Experiment with what your character can do. Try to see if you can find gaps in your opponent's block strings. And you can also use resources like Dust Loop for Guilty Gear, or any other website that has frame data and other stuff that allows you to learn more about your character. And as you play, you should try to think about why certain characters are giving you problems. You can ask questions like, am I struggling to get close to a character because of a button that they have that they're putting out? Is it because they have long reaching buttons? Or is it because they have like really strong zoning tools? Are you having problems blocking their mix-ups? Are you struggling to understand when it's your turn on defense? Those are the type of questions that you should be asking yourself as you're learning matchups in a game that you're not familiar with. And for more serious players, I recommend writing notes of things that you like to focus on as you learn the game. This helps you break down what you like to learn for each character, and it allows you to have a good roadmap to where you like to be in the future when you're playing the game. So at that point, you're probably going to be making some headway with learning more about the characters and learning more about character matchups. But in the next section, I like to focus on how to approach learning new system mechanics and why that can be a struggle. But we can also make that easier as well. So I'd like to start this section off by saying, please do the tutorial on the fighting game. Please. even if you take a moment and you're looking at the basics of the game, just take a look at the tutorial. Most modern fighting games from 2015 on up have some type of tutorial. Now, older fighting games may not have much, but I think there's some resources that you can always use to go back and look at the system mechanics just a little bit, just so you can understand what you're doing. You'll have a good starting place. Now, with that being said, it's not an idea to go through the entire tutorial, because some of it covers like frame data and all that stuff. When you're getting started in a fighting game, it's never a good idea to just go and study the frame data of every character. It's a terrible way to learn fighting games. I mean, you could, but it wouldn't be really effective. Like, and a lot of modern fighting games have tutorials that give you a good stopping place for them to say, hey, come back and revisit here, or you may have to come back and review this section. I know Them's Fighting Herds do it, and if I remember correctly, Melty Blood Type Lumina did as well. So they have good stopping points, and they have good sections that tell you when you should probably come back and review this. Now, I would also like to say that when you're starting any fighting game, you do not need to know how all of these system mechanics work. You just need to know the basics. You just need to know the, archetype of the character you're playing, how to move, how to dash, if your game has air dash, if it has back dash, and if it's a 3D fighter, how you're going to sidestep. You need to know those things when you're starting out. You don't need to know exactly all the 8 billion different ways you can use Roman Council when you're first starting Stride. So just keep that in mind when you're starting. And when it comes to combos, it's completely okay to start off with a simple combo like this one before even trying to transition to a combo that looks more like this one. You don't need super complicated combos when you're first starting to learn a game. It's not ideal at all to learn complicated ones. Some system mechanics have multiple uses. Say, for instance, the overdrive system in BlazBlue Central Fiction. You can use it for a burst, or you can do crazy stuff like this. Now, I also like to say that I'd rather focus on using it as a burst rather than doing crazy stuff like what you've just seen. So, you've just gotten around to getting a basic combo, learning basic stuff about your characters and the system mechanics. Now it's time to hop online, or you can simply go and test out the combos you've learned inside of a safe environment like the arcade mode versus the computer. I personally like to go online and drop all of my combos as I'm learning, because that's just the type of person I am. But fun fact, you're gonna forget the vast majority of stuff you learn inside of the tutorial, so it's okay. You should just focus more on the fact that you're learning. Most people, they'll play a game and they'll focus on the fact that they're losing a lot rather than focusing on what they lost to. Say, for instance, like, I died constantly because I didn't know how to recover in a game like BlazBlue Central Fiction, where recovery is important. Or I lost because I didn't understand how to deal with my opponent's ability to push block in a game like Them's Fighting Herds. You can solve issues like this by going to the training room and figuring out how this work, or you can ask the community questions. Once again, there's always some type of resource that you can use to learn a game. And you got to remember that patience is key to stuff like this. Like, you can learn what parts you want to implement over time. Like, hey, I want to learn how to use the barrier inside of BlazBlue, or how to recover in something like Them's Fighting Herds, because it's different. Take your time. Break down each of the system mechanics. Don't focus on so much at once. You want to take the simplest things in the game and learn those first, and then start adding more to your game plan once you have more down. And I personally recommend doing small little sections of execution training as you hop online. Just take small, like maybe 10-15 minutes of additional time to practice, before you hop online every day, and then that will help you with your execution, especially when you're starting out. Hours in the training room can help resolve the issue. It can be helpful, but more than likely it's gonna be, problematic. It's not gonna resolve like everything you need, and it's gonna cause you to feel like you have to do this before you hop online, and that's not true. So I say maybe do a little bit of execution training, like maybe 10-15 minutes. Practice your moves, practice your combos, and then hop online. And then as you start to do more and more complicated things, you can probably spend more time in the training room. The training room is only really used to resolve an issue that you already know you have, rather than trying to find new issues that you don't know about yet. So I like to close out the video with reminding you to have patience with yourself and just take your time with learning new games. It's completely okay to be bad when you're first starting out. In reality, I don't call anyone bad when they're new. I just say that you're new. But just be kind to yourself. Alright, I'll catch you in the next video.